But I don't know how long I can record because I don't know how much hard drive that. Nah, don't worry about that. So here, why don't I? Uh, no, it's yeah. Are you okay? Make the terminal read write for everybody. Okay. Yeah, that's actually a pretty good. Yeah, make all. So it should run tests. They all pass. Does vent. There's some linting messages, but we're fine with those right now. We'll work on getting those down too. Uh, well, it says pass, 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 but that last pass is everything passes. It will save. Here, why don't we go over to one of the tests in built-in and make one fail, and you'll be able to see, so you can get that feedback. Yep. Yep. So if you go to the what package rules built-in directory, there are files like deprecated API check and then deprecated API check underscore tests. It is kind of nice. And just with Go, anything that starts with a uh, capital test, so just test, and has a function of um, test deprecate or test with a testing T. It, that's from the Go testing package. Any function like that will be considered a test and run as a test whenever you do Go test. So, so you just have to start it with test, usually test underscore, and then have take a testing T. That's the type, yeah. And it's very common in Go to do what they call table testing, where you set up, so like here are some arguments for, or some types for arguments and what we expect out of this. Here is, this actually creates a list of tests of this type. So it's inline defining the type. And you see we give it a name, the arguments that we defined up here, and uh, a pointer to want. I can explain that a little bit later, but what you'll see here, not in this one, but like image, I think image poll policy, there, I actually defined a number of tests of like, here are different versions, variations of how this test might work. And then essentially at the end here, we actually do a for loop over that list of tests, that slice of tests, and run subtests underneath. That's what the t.run does. And then this is the actual meat of what our tests do. So in this case, uh, deprecated API check is a little bit funky of a function. It actually is a generator function, so it returns a function. So we call it with the new version that we set here up in this type. Um, we parse in the YAML that we set in our type here. This is just a very basic Kubernetes object. And then we do a get meta. We need to do that for the rule, because that's assumed to be done by the time you're evaluating rules. And then we execute the actual meat of our code that's defined here in deprecated API by calling that function that it returned. And then it returns a slice of messages, um, and we then go and check against whether or not did we did we get a message or not get a message when we were not expecting, in case the test passes. Did we not expect a message and get a, and not get a message, right? That should stop the test. Um, Assuming that we have a message and uh, we got a response, we check things like did the message that it put out match the message that we expected it to, the want message? And there's also a flag in there if this uh, message is critical, just to give us some kind of differentiation between something that people may not want to lint against or something that would lint, or right. Yep. They all will. They all. Yes. So in rules, a type of rule, so rules.rule, will be a function that returns a message, and the message type is defined in messages as having an interface of a string and a critical. So the deprecated API check is something that generates a rule, whereas image pull policy is actually a rule. So this actually is the format of rule. Maybe a little bit simpler. So so test will be a slice. That's what the brackets indicate of a struct, and this is defining the structure in line. And then this bracket here actually opens our definition of what we're filling in with the test. And then each one of these brackets actually matches this same structure here. Yeah, so you're familiar with, I think, vectors in, that might be C++, but dynamically allocatable arrays, right? That's that that's pretty close to what a slice is, whereas an array has a fixed size always. Yeah, yep. Generally, we'll almost always use slices. There's a few places like in crypto where they expect it to be exactly this number of bytes, so you use an array and pass that around. But generally, we operate on slices of stuff. Yeah. Yes, this is a very common Go pattern. If you were to dive into the standard library, almost all the tests are built in this fashion, where um, you have one test that has a lot of parameters. They call it table-driven tests. Same idea. Very, and you can just run a make test and see that. See, fail, and you can even go in there and says test image pull policy should always fail. So test image pull policy always check is this name right here at the top of, and then should fail if image pull policy is empty matches this name. Um, and then that's the only one of this test group that failed, so it reports that back. Uh, Error 1, I think, is just the exit code of GoTest, but yeah. Um, I don't know if you've played around with I guess you can't see that on my screen right now, but the GoTest Explorer, there's a built-in tool in VS Code, which will pull it out. And I tend to use something like this over the makefile, but the makefile does is essentially backing this. Yeah. Um, we'll have to get you that extension sometime later, but oh, you do? Yeah, let's keep going then. So where I would start is, well, if you're comfortable in the environment, yeah, I would go back to the rules, pick out one of these, like maybe the image tag latest, rules.md. Yeah, yeah. So in general, there's a number of different types that have containers in them. Um, Typically, you don't use pods, but you use deployments, stateful sets, daemon sets, jobs. All of these have a very similar pattern to get to your containers. So um, we will uh, we will basically search in the object that's provided um, down to that particular point in the data that's coming in, and then we'll pull out the image from that container, from the list of containers, and check that it's not latest. And we maybe even do the image tag missing first, like first see if that there is no tag, and then check if there's latest. Do it all back to back or something like that. Yeah, exactly. So where I would go is I'd create a file in the built-in directory. Yeah, image tag latest, or maybe even just image tag. Yeah. Yeah, let's just do both in one. Let's throw them together because they're going to be so similar that there's probably a lot of duplicate code. Oops. So before we get there, start off, let's create our basic function because we'll generate the test. So you got to first start off by making this part of package built in. So just put package built in at the very top. All right. And then let's create our function. So it's got to be public. Uh, I'm going to, yeah, so image tag latest maybe. Um, I'm going to, oops, did I? So there's the format that it has to be. I just copied and pasted that for you. Yep, yep, that's it. So it's going to yell at us that we don't have the proper imports. Oh, copied. Ah, there we go. Um, Here, I'm going to delete one of these so they don't run up. Yeah, I don't know why either. All right. Um, Oh, it doesn't like that. We don't have a return. Add a return nil. It, it's not a real function unless it actually returns. So let's right click um, on the function name and go to Go Generate Unit Test for function. Did it? Oh, we might have to save the file before we do that. Maybe. Task. I don't see it. Okay. I'll generate the file. Go test command. Mine not installed. Give me just a second to uh, generate unit test for function. Oh, there we go. Apparently it wasn't. Okay, there we go. So we have image tag dot tests. So we're gonna modify this a little bit. The generated code uh, is a little simplistic for our needs. Um, so we're gonna take some of the boilerplate from image pull policy tests. So can I view? Hold on, let me edit. Can't remember. Split editor down. There we go. And then on the right, I'll pull up that, and then I will close this because I'm running out of space. Close my test. So I would probably take the same from the type args all the way down to the test type. Uh, so, so like all of that, if you can see the highlight there. Pull policy. Yep. And then paste those in. And then that would replace all of that. Yep, that's perfect. And then back from the image pull policy, I would do the same parsing. So I would essentially take the contents of the test, and the only thing we'll actually change here is the function that gets called. Oh no, your mouse died. Oh no. So, and then let's change image pull policy back to image tag latest. So none of this should change. This is all what we expect out of it. All right, let's make one test. Actually, do I have? So give it a name. Um, so if there is no container, uh, yeah, I don't think this test should fail. Like I could see, it's weird because if there's no container, Kubernetes is definitely going to reject that. But should the linter uh, throw an error there? Maybe. Um, not pod files, but like deployments, and we'll set up the register of it, and I'll kind of give you an overview of what the register looks like. Yeah. So I would say just as to get us ourselves going, maybe just no image or no image tag, like a um, oh wait, this is for latest. So should fail if the tag is if image tag is latest. And I actually have some test data for the image tag. So um, yeah. So yeah. Actually, because I already have some pre-formatted data, it won't be that bad. So what you'll do is you'll put args and then a colon. Yeah, because we're filling in that, and then now you need the type of what we're putting in. So you put args and then the curly brackets. And then actually, if you do test data, oh, yeah, you're right. It is a YAML. So YAML test data, all lowercase, dot latest image tag YAML, and it's capital case. Yeah, there you go. It should, when you save it, it should import it. No, it should be under test data. It should be kube package. Oh yeah, right there. All right, I'm going to close this because we're going to go off the rails here. We need commas after literally everything here. They're required. So put a comma there, put a comma there. And then let's start building out our want, this want. Um, so it needs to be the ampersand want, yeah. So want is, nope, it's defined right up here. So it's a message and is critical. That that's probably a good idea. I'm I I've been throwing things at the wall, see what works. But I mean, we could copy one of the like other um, messages from like image pull policy. Oh, so I'm gonna just here. Oops. Sorry. Still getting used to switching back and forth between a Mac and Windows. So that's the line from one of the tests. So you'll see the test name, an actual message of like container blank, which we should get from the test data, has an has a tag of, and then blank. The test data was blank on this one. Oh yeah, it has a tag of latest. You're right, and it. Uh, yes, so it will be critical. And then at the very end, it has this kind of blob of the metadata, the name and namespace and the version, API version and the um, type. So if we actually go look at latest image tag YAML, oh, I won't. Why won't you quick go there? Um, no definition found. That's so weird. No, I don't want to do that. I want you to come over here. Um, so if you go to the file in the test data, so API version, uh, uh, focus. Oh no, that's the wrong one. Sorry. There's sign out. There's a way in the live share to kind of call people. Um, so if you, I think if you in your live share you go to focus participant or something like that. So if you Control Shift P and then type live share and then focus participant or so yeah, here's the name and namespace. Here's the API version and the kind. So that's what will be filled in that last curly bracket blob. Oh yeah, we also need the name of the container. Oh my gosh, it's okay. Well, no, yeah, we'll take out the. Uh, latest, yeah, that's the right namespace. Let's get rid of the API version, apps v1, and also kind. And then we also did not get the container name, which is latest image tag container at the beginning. Yeah. Close VS Code. All right, let's delete that. When you save, put a comma at the end of that true. Yep, everywhere. It requires trailing commas, which I actually think is nicer than optional trailing commas because you can always add stuff to your functions. You also need one here as well. Well, that's the end of this want. So, oh, and one here. Yep, it's because that's the end of this object here. All right, so let's save that. Let's run all. Oh, no, what's going on here? Missing type in composite literal. Ah, it doesn't like this not having an args up here. Yeah, just args. Yeah. I'm gonna run my test as well. Yeah. Yes, exactly. Good. So with that, we got the data image tag go. All right. Um, we're probably going to copy a bunch of stuff from the image pull policy. Yep. Yeah. So this right here, um, that section of code gets us an object that is a slice of containers from the YAML that was fed into it. Okay, so what YAML rnode is, we're using a library called kyaml, and it parses the YAML structure that we fed it, and it returns R nodes. Not exactly sure what the R stands for, but they're nodes in the YAML structure. So what we're giving it is the YAML document node, which is an R node. Um, and then the pipe function accepts a series of filters, right? YAML.lookup is a filter, and what it will do is it takes a series of strings and it will look for that um, particular map key, the particular key in the structure of the data, right? So what we're essentially saying here is object pipe uh, to get the data that's under spec template spec containers, right? And it returns the R node of containers, which we know because of how it's formatted that containers are a slice of containers, and potentially an error. So this here is just an error check, and if we got an error and looking that up, we're just going to throw a kind of a generic error of could not find containers. That's fine. Um, is yeah we could. Um, so now this code from image pull policy containers.visit elements. You'll see it takes a function, like if you hover over IPP check, um, it takes a function that takes a node, which will be an actual container and returns an error. And the idea here is we're actually going to use here in IPP check, we're going to use that error message as whether or not this passed, right? So if it doesn't have an error, then it passed the linting and we can just go on. If it does, um, if it does throw an error, then it's going to be that the image tag is latest, right? Just right above image pull policy always. So that's where we'll actually get, that's where the actual work happens. So we'll probably do the same thing here. Um, yep, it's a private function just within this, actually within built-ins. Yep. Yeah, which, so error is actually an interface. Yep, yep, yep. That's how you look up nodes. This is sort of like, what's that stuff? Not when you're trying to like parse through XML or JSON, XPath. It's very much how like XPath would do it, I believe. So go ahead and just do a pipe. We're gonna do a pipe. Oh, you want to look up the shape of the data? Okay. Uh, you're probably well, you're also going to want to get the image name, um, mostly for the return the error message. But yep. So n. So it's weird when you so that node will is actually a mapping node, or no, it's not a mapping node. It's actually the contents of that node, but it's still defined as a node. So we actually want to get the value of that node. And to do that, there's two functions, n dot string, yeah, string, which returns a string and an error. Um, or the other one is n dot must string, which just returns the string and it panics if it runs into anything. Which, if we get um, an object or a list in where a name should be, then I think panicking might be fine in this case. Same thing with the error check here. Like we probably like realistically we probably should do an error check, but um, I'm going through and assuming that it's mostly good formatting because part of parsing it will actually get better formatting. But technically, like this could return. I guess because we're using lookup create, it will always return something, even if that something is an empty node. It's yeah, a getter default. So we tell it like what kind of node it is. It's a scalar node. We know that we're looking for essentially a string. Um, that's what a scalar node type is. There's a couple other types like map or list, but and lookup create if name doesn't exist on the object, then it just returns empty, which is why I felt it okay to kind of skip the error check. Mhm. Yeah, I've noticed that it returns the trailing new line at the end of the string. So I'm like, yeah, it's weird, but the KYAML library is still very early beta, so this might break soon, but it's okay. Yeah. Okay. So now images will come in a couple different formats. It will be like uh, yeah, image, name, and the tag. So we actually need to go into the strings library to break this apart into something like this. So yeah, so there is strings dot, is it split? Yeah, split. So we'll use strings dot split on image. Um, uh, yeah. So what I would suggest is if you do a split on um, colon, it will return a slice, and then we can check the length of the slice. If it's 1, then it doesn't exist, and that's going to be taken account in image tag missing. Um, you don't need to include the string. Yeah. Um, if it's 2, then it's an image and a tag, and if it's more than 2, then somebody has a malformed tag, and we could maybe check that. But that's pretty common. I don't know if I have done that yet. Nope, no error. It just returns a slice of string. If image is a an empty string, if it's just quote quote, then it just returns a slice of 1 with an empty string in it. If the length, no, len and then parentheses, that's a function. How about less than 2? Yeah, in case it's 0. It shouldn't be 0, but that's that case. So yeah, so since it makes sense to kind of put it all in once, let's leave it as we'll leave it as latest check. We'll refactor this and then rename it later. Um, and let's put our actual like what we need to do to get to the test. So if it's 2 or more, let's compare part 2. How about in that if check we just return nil right now? Yep. So if it's greater than 2, then uh, image parts 1 should be our tag, right? I just say like if they have a messed up tag, then that's not on us to check right now. We could actually add that as a rule, but it's not what our scope is right now. So I would just leave that out. So yeah, yep, yep. Lowercase latest. Yep. So to make an error, it's format FMT. No, no. Oh, there you go. Cheat it. Yep. Image tag. Uh, yeah, I think just has an image tag of latest is fine at this point. Then nothing. Yep. And then we need to return nil at the very end, which it should never get there. Or no, I guess if there's a tag that's not latest. Let's go check. Let's see. So I'm gonna pop open a. Oops, wrong button. Wrong button. No. Did that screw up OBS? No. Okay. Um, I've not found a very good way of debugging these very long lines right now. Um, okay. So, can you come to my focus, maybe? The error message is slightly different. Um, so container image tag container has an image tag of latest versus has a tag of latest. An image tag, I think, has an image tag. So what's in the error message? So I think let's fix the test to match that. No, that will that will be added. Um, that will be added by this, I believe. Sorry, in the image tag, it's added by when we add this. Yeah, my son's not having a good time, but hey, there we go. Yeah, let's make a second test for does not have a tag. Yeah. Um, yeah. Yep. It's a struct of type args. I think I do. It's no image tag YAML. Oh, yeah, you're editing the wrong one. So I don't know if you quite noticed the ampersand there. So what you're doing right there is you're creating a structure and you're filling it. That's what the want curly brackets does. And then you're actually taking the address of it. And the idea here is if you want it to have a green test of like the good path, uh, you would just put a nil here, and then when it got to this check down here, if the want equals nil and got equals nil, then it should pass and just exit out of that test. Yeah. So say we created one name of should pass if image tag is something, right? Then our want would actually be nil, right? Because there's no error. If I didn't have this as a pointer, if I just had it straight like this, what would happen is when you put these wants in, when you had an empty want, it would actually fill it with default value, so default string and false for Boolean. So I would never be able to tell that I didn't want a message. That's why we have a pointer there. So I'm going to pull that out just so we don't have that screwing us up. Yeah, I'd say so. Yes, yes. Hmm. Yeah, that's exactly why this is a recommended best practice, right? No, let's take a look at the no image tag container. Yep, yep, yep. Need your commas. I hope so. Yep. Should fail if image tag is missing. That's the one that failed. Uh, I'm gonna clear it and just run again. Uh, go test, make test. So it fails. Image tag. Oh no. I think it just has no image tag instead of image tag of latest. We're gonna refactor that. I think we're just put it all in one for right now. I think that makes sense enough. No, that goes on the error up above, but yeah, exactly. That should do it. Yep, right. All right. So I don't think this is the latest check. I think this should be a tag check. So why don't we just go ahead, right click on that and rename the symbol. It is F2 on Windows at least. Something so weird. Yeah. And then again, this is also image tag latest. Um, I don't think that's right. Yeah, I think just image tag might be, or maybe image tag check. Pretty cheap. Our yeah, our rule name in the message, and so here in image tag check, and also in the tests. Yeah, and I suppose we won't, no, the file name's image tag go. Oh, or I guess the um, usually the file is one um, one cohesive unit that's a little bit bigger than just one function or one set of things. So like, yeah, yeah. Can, there's one up here too. Great. That is the refactor. Let's commit this. Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah. Has image tag YAML. Yeah, apparently I had made these YAML um, blobs in a previous iteration. So a little history on this. I first started doing it with the Kubernetes unstructured client, and um, everything inside of the unstructured is just a map interface, so map string interface, and it is so painful to use. Like if you actually go back in the Git history and look at it, it is so ugly and so terrible that I'm like, we got to find something better. We got to find a better way of doing this. Thankfully, the people who are doing Customize also have a project called KYAML that they're building out and migrating Customize to, which is a more useful way of examining Kubernetes, not Kubernetes, but YAML files, right? Geared towards Kubernetes. Well, that's exactly what this is doing, right? That's exactly it. So I'm like, I am willing to dive in and use it as a beta and fully go for it. Um, yeah. Nope. Should pass. There you go. Yep. Oh, some comments, some me doing. Oh, they're new files. Yeah. All right, let's add them. Git add package rules built-in image tag star. That's fine. Git status. All right. Added. Uh, oh, that's a good point. I'll go ahead and add those. Um, so we added image tag uh, rules. Anything else? Anything? That'd probably be a good idea. Oh, did I? Uh, so, uh, so, so I should, yeah, go thumped where is in there. It vets exported function should have a comment. Okay, we'll get to those. We need to get a good format for that. But it looks like okay. Um, yeah. So if you don't have that when you generate the Go docs, it looks very bad. So um, new linter returns. Yeah, I'm playing around with how the linter should work. I don't know. I'm not sure I'm there yet. Um, should have a comment. So it's just the comments. So we're good. Exactly. Um, oh, I need to add the Kubelint as. Oh, it did. What's the? Huh. Git add. No, it shouldn't be. I need to add that to a git ignore. Do I have a git ignore? If I'm doing it, I might as well just do it before. Uh, bin? So that didn't get it? I thought bin should. Maybe. No, still sees it. Um, yeah, maybe. Let's not worry about that then. Git. So git commit deck m added image tag. Uh, Anything else that you want to add? All right, cool. Yeah, I asked the things. All right. We'll add you as a commenter so that you could. You know what I should have done is not done the rules and have you change that. It's okay. Yeah, we should do this again. Yeah. All right. Let me stop streaming, stop recording.